Welcome to Redfish Canyon in the Sawtooth Mountains of central Idaho. Looking up here at a beautiful buttress, a climbing route, an area known as the super slabs. And we're gonna do this 7-pitch route today, take you with us as we go from pitch to pitch, looking at the rock, the geology, and pointing out any of the cool things along the way. Thanks for joining me today on this little geo adventure. I'm geology professor Shawn Willsey. Maybe the first thing we can talk about, because we'll see it really prevalently throughout the entire climb, is the glacial polish on the surface of the granitic rock. We're going to be climbing up the Sawtooth Pluton granitic rocks, these granites that formed in these magma chambers that cooled and solidified deep underground. And this entire buttress has been sculpted by glaciers moving down the canyon from left to right, from the high country back this way towards the west, down to the Stanley Basin in the valley out this way towards the east. And so as the ice has passed these rocks, as the base of the glaciers moved over it, the grit, the rocks, the sediment embedded in the ice have scratched and scoured and striated these rocks. You can actually see these rocks moving parallel to the direction that the glacier passed over. And the other thing to convey here is just incredibly how polished this surface is. It's incredibly slippery and slick, and as we climb it, we actually have to be really aware of our footing, because we want to avoid putting our feet where the polish is located, and instead look for places like this where the glacial polish has been eroded and there's more friction and more of a better place to get purchase with your climbing shoes as you go up. So again, something like this up here, you can kind of see that the route or the rock is kind of pockmarked in places with these darker patches of rock. There's a really incredibly smooth section of glacial polish right here. What we'd like to also look at is, as we go up, remember that the polish indicates where the glacier was. So as we go up the rock, if the glacier polish and the striations become absent, that might indicate the highest extent, or the top of the glacier, if you will. And on the other hand, if we see the polish going all the way up to the top of our climb, then that would give us a minimum extent of how thick the ice was and how pervasive the glacier was at some point in the past. So we'll go ahead and get started. It's a beautiful day, great looking weather in the forecast, and we'll see you up on the climb. All right, we're at the top of pitch 3. We actually did it in 2 pitches, looking up at the next several pitches of the climb here. We've got up high enough now, we can actually see a little bit of Redfish Lake down to the east, the beautiful U-shaped valley here, this glaciated valley in Redfish Canyon, and then some of the hanging valleys here. So where there were smaller glaciers feeding this larger one back during the last ice age. This glacier that was in Redfish Canyon was the largest glacier in the Sawtooth. It was the longest and the largest. Another hanging valley up here, this buttress up here is the Elephant's Perch, another big fun rock climbing objective. So just fantastic scenery up here. Looking back down the way we came, down at the bottom, up to the friendly forest, and then up here to our belay station. We can still see some of the glacial polish on the rock. The other interesting thing here in the granite, and this is true in the Sawtooth Pluton, but you don't see this as much in other granites, are these interesting cavities. These are called miarolitic cavities, and they're thought to form maybe when there's excessive gas pockets in the magma that allows these things to form. They're oftentimes, although this one's not, but I've seen them sometimes, are lined with really nice smoky quartz crystals. So in places you'll see these little cavities here in the rock. Here's our anchor here, 2 bolts. So we're gonna head up this next pitch and see what awaits us here at the super slabs. All right, top of pitch 4 of our climb up the groove in the super slabs. Looking south at some of the ridgeline there, Elephant's Perch, and we're tucked in a little, kind of a cute little belay station with a raspberry bush. It's actually called the raspberry belay. We've got our anchor here, and then looking up at the next pitch, which is called the sickle pitch. This is supposed to be the best one, what we sometimes call as climbers the Multipitch. And we've still got the glacial polish on the rock. So we've got these very slippery polished surfaces from the glaciers passing over. So we know the glacier in the canyon came up at least this high. And this is also another nice spot for these little miarolitic cavities. And I don't know how well you can see it, but there's some gray quartz crystals sticking out in this one. So I thought I'd show those. You can actually see this one's got a little bit more quartz exposed along the margin. So yeah, a unique feature of the Sawtooth, and something you see quite frequently when you get up here rock climbing, and these pockets sometimes make great footholds and handholds in them. So onward and upward up the sickle pitch. All right, we made it. 7 pitches later, we are at the top of Super Slab, this big buttress. You can see where we started, way down here in the shadows. Now we're up here at the tippy top. 7 pitches later, nice view of Redfish Lake, looking down to the east, and the majestic Sawtooth craggy peaks, these wonderful hanging valleys, which were smaller glaciers feeding into the main one here. Another one up here that goes towards Saddleback Lakes, and then up here we get a nice view of looking further up into Redfish Lake Canyon, up towards Alpine Lake and the actual ridge line there. But you can see these wonderful narrow ridge lines, these arêtes, all carved by glaciers. And I think the big cool story here was that pretty much up all 7 pitches, we saw that glacial polish, those striations on the rock. So we saw really good evidence here all the way up that the glaciers that occupied Redfish Lake Canyon went to at least this elevation. We're about 700 feet above the bottom of the climb there, maybe 900 or 1,000 feet from the actual valley floor. So we had glaciers up to a level of about 1,000 feet. And even looking across at this outcrop, I can see striations running up through this cleared area here, this exposed part of this outcrop here. So we at least had glaciers up to there. And really, if you think about where these hanging valleys are, it makes sense that you know, the ice might have been up to those elevations anyway. So beautiful view of the Sawtooth Granite, this pinkish Eocene granite, about 45 to 50 million years old. Maybe give you one more close-up of it down here. Nice exposure right here through the lichen. You can see some of the crystals, hopefully. Yeah, so this pinkish granitic rock, again looking down the slabs there. Let's see if we can duck under here. So we've got to walk off the top of this, get back down to our packs, and then we'll be home free. So hopefully you enjoyed this little geo venture. Thanks for joining me. If you can and you feel compelled to, there's ways you can support my geology and adventuring video efforts. So there's a donate button on the banner of the homepage. There is a PayPal link in the video description, and there's the thanks button as well at the bottom right of the viewer. So until next time, signing off here from the wonderful and majestic Sawtooth Mountains of central Idaho, highly glaciated, the Eocene granite of Redfish Canyon. Thanks.